Hi everybody, welcome to a video of another cycle frame, I'm afraid. This time though with the ANI R160, which is the ANI R150 replacement. So I've done a video on base coat, but I thought I'd keep them separate because base coat and top coat or lacquer can often be quite different the way people apply them. With base coat it's much more necessary or less necessary to keep a certain rhythm. I mean, if it's a pearl or some metallics and that, you do have to be careful because you can end up with like tiger stripes where the metallic particles are at the edges, and it just looks like stripes in certain light, so you do have to be careful. But with lacquer, you have to do it quite methodically, and the last one I did, which was with I can't remember what spray gun I did it with now, but this is a new spray gun, so this is the first time using it for lacquer, and the base coat for this was done with the same spray gun as well, but it's in a separate video. If you want to look through the videos, you should be able to find it. So the gun, as I say, first time we're using it for lacquer, and it performed really well. It's described as an improvement on the ANI R150. I can't see it being an improvement. It's not a backward step, it's just a sideways step really. They've changed it for whatever reason they wanted to change it. Maybe it's cheaper to make, or just the tools were set up for something else and they work for this as well. I don't know the whys and wherefores of why they did it, but the upshot of it is if you want an R150, you won't be able to get one. Once they've run out of what they've got, you won't be able to get one. You'll have to use this. So I thought I'd do a video on it just so that people can see what it was like really, and as I say, it worked really good. The differences in the guns, there's an unboxing video where I took the tip off and that, and you can see the differences in the guns. So the guns are different, and not all the stuff is interchangeable. The pots fortunately are interchangeable, so if you've got an R150 and you want something else with a different tip, you can buy another one of these guns and your pots will fit each other, so there's nothing to worry about really as far as that goes. And it does lay it on really nicely. Now if you're looking at this video because you want to spray a frame, well, the things to look out for with frames is that they're very bitty. So by bitty I mean there's lots of different parts. You can't really get a good flow going simply because you've got to move around so much to get into all the nooks and crannies of the various parts of the frame. So you'll see here that it's really necessary that you've got some way of securing the frame that allows you to move it. Either that, or you've got the frame completely off the ground and you've got access completely around it. So if you had a spray stand or something, obviously you could set it up on that and you'd be able to work your way around it. But with this is the first coat of lacquer on here, so it's a relatively thin coat. So if you look to the right hand side, you'll see lots of little patterns of like a darker colour. Forget the blues and the greens because they're for something else, but if you look at the small dark patterns, that's about the amount. I was just testing the fluid because I'm obviously not used to the gun. It's a new gun, so I just wanted to see what was coming out. And if you look at those there, the bottom ones on the new sheet of paper are about what you're looking for the first coat. And if you see now, you see those two bits by the tip of the gun or by the right of my hand, you'll see the two darker glossier bits. Now this is the start of the second coat, and that's the difference. The other patches around it are the amount that's going on for the first coat, and those two gloss patches are the amount that's going for the second coat. So it's a lot more for the second coat, and you need to be much more aware of how the lacquer is going to flow, because you can't put a little bit on somewhere and then go somewhere else and do something and then come back like you can often with base coat. With lacquer, you need to do it methodically so that it spreads out. If you can understand it, when you spray, you've got loads of little droplets of the lacquer, well in this case lacquer, coming out, and when they adhere to the surface, if you've got enough of them, then they'll spread into each other, and that's what gives you the smooth spray. Now the pressure of the gun, the amount of fluid you've got coming out, etc, etc, all add to that. So it depends what setup you're using really, as to how much you have coming out. Now this is a 1.2, which I wouldn't normally use on a frame. On a frame I normally use a 0.6 or 0.8, because you just don't need that much material and you don't need that bigger fan. So in the case of this, and this R160 has a bigger fan than the R150. Again, I've got another little video that shows you the difference in fan size. This has a bigger fan, so because it's a relatively small frame with a bigger fan, I've wound the fan down to about half fan. If you look, as I say, to the glossy bits on the right hand side, that's the size of the fan I'm using, which is about half of what it's capable of. If you wind the fan pattern out more, it doubles the size of that, if not a bit more. So I'm not using it on full fan at all. And the air pressure, I've got the gauge coming into the, I haven't got a gauge on the gun, I've got a gauge coming into the air filter set that I've got on there, but that's set at 2.5 bar, and this isn't wound out fully. You'll see the little adjuster lever for the air pressure on the gun there, just above the thumb. That's set about in the middle, so I'm guessing it's about 1.75 bar, something like that. But I tend to not worry too much about the pressure. You know, when you first start spraying, you're quite worried about the pressure because you don't know, well, you don't know what you're doing effectively. But as you get more used to it, you tend to look for the finish rather than the pressure. In fact, I did a test on some miniguns on these spray patterns, and one guy said that the LPH 80 iWater is designed to be sprayed at 1 bar, which I didn't know. I didn't even look, and I've had that gun for ages. I didn't look, I just spray it to whatever desired finish I want. So sometimes it'll be higher pressure, sometimes a bit of lower pressure. But for the purposes of comparison, normally you have it at the same pressure so that people can see what different guns do at the same pressure, because it's comparable then. You know, if you had a gun on half a bar pressure, which is about 9 psi, 8 psi, if you had it on half a bar pressure and you sprayed with it, it would look really, well, often it would look really orange peely, have a lot of peel to it. And if you put the same gun on 2 bar, or 30 psi, somewhere around there, it would look a lot less orange peely. So you couldn't say, oh, one gun's more orange peely than the other, because you need to be aware of what the pressure is. So I'm just trying to say in a roundabout way that when you compare a gun, to find the pattern size, you use a regulator normally to make sure that you're doing it at the same pressure so that it's comparable. But when you're spraying something in real time, you just go for the finish. So you might start spraying, you think, oh no, it's a little bit peely, I want it a bit flatter, so you turn the pressure up slightly, and you might move slightly further away from the work or slightly more towards the work. But you can see there that the frame's finished. This is in real time, so it's actually, at the actual time it takes to lacquer this whole frame is about 9.5 minutes, and that's with about half an hour in between the two coats. Obviously, I cut that out, the filming, so it's literally about 10 minutes to do the whole thing. Now you see I'm using a heat gun here. It's often a good idea, if you can, be careful of fumes, etc., because obviously you're dealing with, it's not a flame, is it, but it's an element, a heated element. So be careful, make sure you've got plenty of ventilation, and just go over your work like this in conditions like it is today, because it was a reasonable day, but it was only about 17 degrees Celsius, which is, what is that in Fahrenheit, about 55, I suppose. Is it 55, 56, something like that? I could be wrong, but it's about that. It's 17 degrees Celsius anyway. And if you're right on the limits with clear coat on frames, you need to get as much on as you can to give you a glossy, flowy finish, but you don't want runs really. So the best thing to do is get it on there as quick as you can, as much as you can without runs, and then put a bit of heat into it, because it's an aluminium frame, so it's aluminium tubes. So by warming up the tubes, it transfers across the whole of the surrounding parts of the metal frame, and it just helps to cure it's a 2-pack lacquer, this one, just helps to cure it quickly. It's got a fast hardener, and I prefer a fast hardener to an extra fast. Extra fast if it's freezing cold, but a fast hardener tends to keeps the gloss a bit better than an extra fast. So I'm using a fast hardener and just use the heat gun to speed it up. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. So it's a little bit about, you know, lacquering a frame, and a little bit about the F160. But sorry, R160, not F. I keep saying F, which is the bigger version, but the R160. So I hope you enjoyed it. I've got a few photos at the end just so you can see how well the frame come out, but it comes out really well. Yeah, good gun. I hope they bring out a service kit for it soon, because we're going to be a bit stuck if we don't get those. But all right, thanks for watching. Cheers. Thanks very much.